Suzy Wrong, Joy Drive with Dee and Warren's film, TV and theatre reviewer.
Suzy Wrong, it's so good to have you back.
Hi, this is Suzy Wrong pretending to be speaking to you from the Taxi Club studio.
The Taxi Club.
Is that, I'm going to add that. Now,
What's
whereabouts
the
is
Taxi
that
Club?
based in? That's in Sydney, isn't it?
That was in Sydney, and for the longest time, I believe from the 70s, was the only place where all our trans people would go to.
Now that's
Yeah, and
obviously
then it's
before
gone.
your time, Suzy Wrong. In Singapore, where you did some of your work.
No. It closed only maybe 8 years ago, I believe. So I was here, broke many hearts. My heart was broken many times, but had lots of fun at the Taxi Club.
Was it replaced
And across
with-
the street, we would go to the Manacle, where the leather boys were. It was
Oh,
great.
yes, I used to go to the Manacle.
Yeah.
The Manacle.
That was fun.
So can I
that's
just
gone.
say, while we're on that, we did have a text in from a listener saying that if you were in Sydney in the 90s, you went to the Midnight Factory. It was daggy. Some of us got bashed trying to get back to the train to go home, but it's all we had. Thank you, Wayne. That took a turn, I'll be honest.
Suzy, we're talking about The Unusual Suspects, which is on SBS On Demand, streaming now. Give us an overview.
The Unusual Suspects is this year's SBS four-part series, a heist drama set in the wealthy eastern suburbs of Sydney. Miranda Otto plays Sarah Beasley, a middle-aged social influencer who is hemorrhaging cash as she tries to keep up appearances whilst efforts to monetize her fame continue to fail miserably. She hatches a plan with her maid and her neighbors, Ocean's 11 style, to steal a $16 million necklace, but things don't really go according to plan. Now, The Unusual Suspects features 4 Filipino characters, all of whom are well-written and beautifully performed. But unlike last year's Hungry Ghosts about Vietnamese Australians, these Filipino characters don't exist on their own terms. They are portrayed as wonderful human beings, but in my opinion, they are made to look a little bit out of place in the lily-white landscape of Point Piper. I'm disappointed that the creators chose not to center these Asian lives in a way that is independent of their relationships with white people. In terms of representation, the show's strategy is outdated, but most people will be able to look past that and enjoy the thrills and spills that ensue. I found the first 2 establishing episodes very fun, but I found it got messy when things ramped up, and I found myself gradually losing interest. Dee and Warren, does it surprise you that we have foreign maids in this country?
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you this because I was going to say I thought it was great to see Asian representation, on mainstream TV, and they had major roles, and I thought this is really good. But I wasn't sure if that was reality in terms of Eastern affluent Sydney, where the Filipino maids are frequently used.
I mean, I don't know. I tried to ask. I have one close Filipino friend, and he has a lot to say about it. But it's weird to me. I'm like, if you're going to pay them minimum wage at least, a lot of people in Australia are going to want those jobs because, that's a lot of money. These people are working like 10 hours a day. That's a ton of money. I don't understand how these people are going to need to find people from overseas. But, we're not those people.
My only experience of Filipino maids it actually comes from Singapore, where your wealthier Singaporean Chinese families will have Filipino maids.
Yeah, you don't have to be wealthy there to have Filipino maids. It's so commonplace, but they're so poorly paid, But that's not the case, I hope, in Australia. As far as I know, foreign workers are only able to come in when, we don't have people who want to work in the nursing or in the construction industries, and we have people there. And maids, I mean, to me, that's a question, but that's a little bit besides the point. It isn't really the point of the show. It doesn't talk about that. It talks about these 2 excellent feisty maids and the women around them.
And to be fair, one of the Filipino women is in fact one of the women of the house. She's not a maid, but she's obviously she's married.
I think she was a maid, and then she sort of climbed her way up to the top, which is great to see.
Were they maids or were they more babysitters?
No, maid, housekeeper, babysitter.
Because one thing I did like, I think it avoided a lot of the stereotypes. And if you look at one of the characters, was it Gigi or Gigi. Now she came in as a cleaner, but she ended up being good at being a life coach and was coaching these wealthy women. And I thought that was fantastic. So I liked the way that each Filipino actor had a really good defined role. You know, we didn't stereotype them as one bunch of people.
They had a lot of complexity around.
Yeah.
We talked briefly about it last week, and my concern, because I hadn't watched to the end, and my concern was that we were typecasting Filipina actors into these roles, and whether or not, you know, they were all genuinely from the Philippines as actors and all that. But now I've watched the whole series, I've got less of a reality fix on it, and just seeing it for what I think it is, which is meant to be a crazy, as you say, Ocean's 11 romp, crime, drama, and I think that they've just used the device of Filipina maids.
And the point is that only one of them is Australian. You know, so it sort of makes sense that they sound so Filipino.
Yeah.
The three of them are Filipino people working in Sydney. They aren't Australians.
Did you
so
watch
really
Suzy Wrong? We cannot give any spoilers, obviously, because there is a resolution to the series. But did you watch through to the behind the scenes at the end and watch all the actresses interviewed?
I did.
Yeah.
It was really good to hear their own accents.
Yes. I thought that was a really fascinating bit. And then I thought, and the way that none of them, because, you know, as a cis white woman living in Melbourne, I can say, I think that that's awful that they're asked to act that Asian or really ramp up that kind of accent but then now that when I see them speaking about the role and how they found it really empowering to put these stories out, because they are based in actual characters, maybe not in the eastern suburbs of Sydney, I don't know, but certainly in the world, that is a dynamic.
Yeah, they speak in the show. Their accents to me is authentic because I have known Filipino people all my life, and you know, these three of the four women are Australian, and the main Filipino character is American though. So
yes.
So that was unusual. I did question, why weren't they able to find a fourth Australian actress? But you know, that's information we don't know.
I thought it was a really refreshing and fun show, and I found I was watching it and I'd completely escaped and forgotten about reality. And I couldn't stop watching it, Suzy. I watched the first episode, then I just kept going right through for the second and the third. And I even thought the whole, you know, the planning of the heist was really funny as well, because it was serious and they made fun of how you would see it in a serious movie, but it was really well done. I loved it.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it was very tightly directed, tightly written, and Miranda Otto was exceptional. I think she's underrated.
Great. She's a great actor. That was really, really. She's kind of Sarah Snookish in a way. I keep getting them confused in my head. Maybe Sarah Snook later on. We are talking about The Unusual Suspects. It's currently streaming on SBS On Demand, and we're speaking with our very own theatre, film and TV correspondent Suzy Wrong out of Sydney. I thought the Sarah Beasley character was so believable as an asshole kind of boss, and then, you know, I don't think it's any spoiler to say that there's a fall from grace.
There's a human side to her as well.
And then I find her completely unbelievable as a friend to these women. I found that was the bit that was a suspended belief for me.
And it does the power of friendship really well, doesn't it, amongst the group of women towards the end when they all do come together.
Well, there's a race element to it, but I think the overwhelming element is female friendships and conspiracy. What do you think, Suzy?
Yeah, you're right. It's supposed to look like, you know, like a slightly feminist sort of story with all these women driving the plot. But you're right about you just don't really believe that these super rich women are such close friends with their Filipina helpers, that the Filipina helpers were so eager to be friends with them. But I did love that sort of that influencer character, and I think that was what made the first two episodes so enthralling for me. I just wanted to see, you know, like, that's how I imagine the person behind the happy influencer on Instagram is like.
Exactly, and it's a facade, and this was done really well in the whole series. Was this facade of my life is perfect? I've got my kids, I've got my money, and then of course that facade is pulled down.
Yeah, but
right in front of us.
Drops right in front of us, and in the most dramatic of ways. But it's such a facade that she's convinced the kids, the nanny, and the husband.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I reckon this is going to have appeal to any country that really has a lot of foreign workers.
Or just anybody that appreciates a great rollick in drama. I think this is great that SBS... Was this commissioned by SBS, Suzy?
It has to be, because they do one every year, as far as I know.
Okay. I mean, it's no Hungry Ghost, but, you know.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed with them, and I heard that there were lots of Filipina actors in the show. I wanted to see something that was what we were trying to do last time with Vietnamese Australians, and sort of tell their story without a lot of white people around.
Yeah.
But this time it was literally a white woman in the center, and then the Filipina women around her.
I disagree. I don't think so. I think that her maid, Lovey Nanny, is the centre of this film, and then there's a whole lot of comedy around her, like idiot boss's husband, idiot boyfriend of the boy. Like, I think that it is her story, and that what she has to deal with, and that the only warmth and solace she gets is from other maids in her position. I thought it was a very much centred on the Filipina character.
And she shows integrity in the end, doesn't she? Which is really good.
And it's interesting that the Catholicism comes into it. I think it's many laid. It looks on the surface to be just kind of a wacky crime drama, but I think it's really deep, and I think it's 5 stars from me.
I loved it too. I'm going to say 5 stars from me.
How many wrongs do you give it?
3.5.
3.5 wrongs. Don't make a right.
It's called The Unusual Suspects. It is streaming now on SBS On Demand. Suzy, Wrong, what's our homework for next week?
Feel Good. It's a comedy series on Netflix about a young lesbian, May, who is a comedian and a recovering addict. I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Being a female comedian. Suzy, I'm delighted that you've said that, because I binged both seasons. I have a lot to say about it, and I think everybody should go and watch it. It's not just a lesbian thing. It's great. The woman that plays her girlfriend is adorable.
Do we need to watch season 1 and 2, or can we jump straight in at season 2?
I think it's better that you do season 1.
Yeah, you get more idea of the addiction.
Yeah. Don't get all stressed about seeing the whole thing.
Okay.
I think
he doesn't. Trust me.
there's plenty to
my
talk
best,
about,
Suzy,
even
Wrong.
just talking about season 1.
So it's called Feel Good. It's on Netflix. And don't forget The Unusual Suspects on SBS On Demand. Suzy, Wrong, it's all we've got time for. We'll chat to you next week.
See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday. As Josh